So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Manon Fielding, and I have been very interested in longevity and anti-aging for many, many years. I've been a holistic chiropractor for 30 years. I then went back to school and got my degree in a master's degree in addiction counseling because I was dealing with several family members that were had addiction problems. So I've incorporated a lot of that into my work now. And I'm also a certified spiritual coach through the Energy Code. So I have always been very holistically oriented, and we're going to be talking on this longevity series. Is going to be today is about breathing, but we're going to be talking about nutrition, exercise, posture, genetics, and making things very understandable to everyone in small bits so that we can take it all in and start practicing it for our better health and our wellness. Okay, so I heard somebody talk one time asking people, like, if you could live to 120, 150, would you want to do that? And a lot of people said no, because I think what most people were feeling is, if nobody I know is around, I don't want to be here either. But what if we all could live longer? That would be really awesome. We can be supportive of each other. And people are living over 100 now, more and more. And we're going to talk about what are ways that we all can move forward and do that in a healthy way so that we can be active and in our mind and our body as we age. So today we're going to be talking about breathing. And in my post, I talked about the 4 signs that I see a lot in practice and with people about that I know are not breathing properly. One of them is the tension in the shoulders. So if you're like always like this and you can't get enough shoulder rubs, like you want people to keep doing that forever while you're sitting there working on the computer, you're probably somebody who has very shallow breathing and is not breathing right. And the other one is being fatigued, anxious, depressed. A lot of times I've asked people about that. They're feeling anxious or fearful, and they don't really know why. They don't have a very clear reason. Sometimes that is just because of their breathing, because they're activating the sympathetic fight or flight response, and their emotions are interpreting that, and it's because they're not breathing properly. Okay, another one is if you have trauma or PTSD or addiction and you have excessive amount of triggering or cravings for drugs, alcohol, food, cigarettes, any of those kind of things, that is another indicator. And that's extremely common in our society. And the last one is, I see a lot in practice as a chiropractor, is between your shoulder blades, having an achiness there that never seems to go away. And if you press on these little rib heads along the shoulder blades, they may always feel sore, and especially when somebody presses on it or you press on it, and it feels so good when they do that, but can't walk around like that. That's because you're not breathing correctly. Okay, so those are 4 signs, and they're not, of course, they're not the only signs, and those signs could also mean other things, but those are some good indicators. So let's talk a little bit about why that happens. 2 reasons is that instead of taking an oxygen, which is a calming and energizing type of air for us, we keep in too much carbon dioxide, and that makes us tense and stressed. And it's not at a level to be poisonous, but it's at a level, I guess you can call it like a slow death. That's why I'm saying that it can shorten your life, because you're holding it all in the lower part of the lungs, because you're only breathing up here. having very shallow breathing and not activating these other areas that we need to activate in order to have a proper breath. So what I want to do first is have you test yourself and see what your breaths per minute is. And then we're going to look at how that relates to longevity and how that relates to the efficiency of your lungs. And we're going to talk about how to actually breathe in a way that will activate that. And the more you start to do that regularly, the more you're going to feel the benefits and the improvement from it. And we're also going to do today something that you can do for just a few minutes a day that will really reduce your level of stress, help you with better sleeping, and be kind of an immediate source of calming and energy at the same time. Okay, so what I want you to do is I'm going to time this for you, and I want you to see how we're going to do 30 seconds. See how many times you breathe during that 30 seconds, and then easily multiply that by 2. Write that number down. We're going to go over that. Okay, so let me set my timer for 30 seconds. All right, 1, 2, 3, start. Okay, so write that number down, and then we're going to talk. And I'm sorry, I was going to set this up on Zoom so that we could actually see the numbers, but we're not going to be. Let me get that sheet. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't have that, but I'm going to give you the numbers. So at 20 breaths per minute, and hopefully you're not up that high. So if you were 10 at 30 seconds and you're at 20 or something close to that, you're at 50% efficiency. And the lifespan is like, could be 75 and under at that rate. And most of the people that I worked with in detox that had addiction problems were in the 18 to 20 range, which is very unhealthy. And that, I just explained to you why that is a problem, especially for that group. At 18 breaths per minute, you're in the 75 to 80 range in terms of lifespan. At 12 breaths per minute, you're at about 70%. Uh-oh. I think I went offline for a second there. I think I'm okay now. Okay. I don't know if something got messed up with the internet, but at 6 breaths per minute, you're at 85% efficiency, and your lifespan can extend to 164, in case you didn't hear that. Okay, so that is quite a big difference between 6 breaths per minute and 20. And there are actually yogis that are below 6 and have very extended lives and live a very calm lifestyle and are very healthy. So that our goal, what I have read in some of the studies, is our goal is 6 to 10. So if you're over 10, we're going to talk now about how to correct that. In Eastern medicine, they look at things a lot different, in the Ayurvedic medicine, and in the Western, they say 12 to 18 is normal. Some say 12 to 20. But just like the RDA for nutrition, they tell you what the bare minimum is for you to kind of be alive. but it's not really optimal for our well-being. And in another talk, we're going to talk about some of the vitamin RDAs, and like vitamin D, that what they say is normal is really way below what the optimal is. So these are some examples. Okay, so we talked about that. So the type of breathing, one, we want to breathe nasal breathing. Breathing through your nose is much healthier. If you have problems breathing through your nose because of sinus problems or things like that, you just have to do the best you can. And there are ways to actually correct that. And we can talk about that if you want to ask me any questions about that. So the other thing is using your abdomen. And so we're going to practice that. So abdominal breathing and diaphragm, which is so between here and here, is where most of your breath should be. And why is that? Okay, remember how your lungs are shaped. You have the apex of the lungs up here, and it's a small portion, and then they get bigger down here. Well, if you're not even activating that whole lower area, that's where the efficiency is really low. And I'm sure that anyone who is a singer knows that, because they use their diaphragm more than most of us have ever learned to do. So let's talk about that, how we're supposed to breathe. So you breathe first. I'm going to demonstrate, and then I want you to practice with me, okay? So you breathe in through your abdomen, then expand through your ribs, feel them expand, then breathe, take a little more in and breathe all the way up to the apex of your lung. Kind of like sip, hold. You're going to hold it for a second and then breathe out the complete opposite direction. So you're going to breathe out from here, then your ribs go in, then your stomach goes in. So when you breathe like that and it becomes more natural for you, you're going to be taking in more oxygen, activating the lower part of the lungs, which also activates your parasympathetic nervous system and your vagus nerve. There are a lot of people talking about vagal stimulation now. This is a simple way to stimulate your own vagus nerve just through your breath. And there are a lot of other breathing techniques, but this is just kind of a basic breath. And then when you don't just breathe shallowly, just through your chest, you're going to start feeling calmer. I measure, when I started this practice, I was at more like 12, and now I'm at 8. And I didn't really strive for that. I just, it seemed like it just slowed down all on its own. I don't know. So that, it was very interesting how that happened. It's just something you practice and becomes part of your life, okay? And meditation certainly helps a lot. But, one of the most common things people say to me about why they can't meditate is because they can't calm their mind. The reason they can't calm their mind is because they're not breathing right. So this is the first step towards learning how to meditate. Okay. Now what we're going to do is what's called the 4-7-8 breath. And that is when you're going to take a breathe in 4, and then you're going to hold it for 7. I'll count to 7. And then you're going to breathe out slowly for a count of 8, backwards, the way we were talking about, where you then press your abdomen in towards the spine, which is where that vagus nerve is. Okay, so this activates it a little bit more than, because you're breathing out slower. So 4, 7, 8. We're going to do 3 cycles together, and then I'm sorry, I have a sheet on that, so if you leave a comment, even after this video, after the live, if you're not on the live, just ask me for the 4-7-8 sheet or for any other information that you would like. Okay, so let's try this together. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm holding on my shoulders up. 7, 8. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if it seems a little difficult at first, that's okay. It's anything that you start new, sometimes have to work on it a little bit. All right, so that's the 4-7-8 breath. And the thing that's really interesting about that is that is a breathing technique that they teach in the military for a couple of reasons. One is that it helps tremendously with PTSD. And when they did a study where they were using this breathing technique and along with some others, but really practicing the breathing. And then they had a therapist working with some people doing regular therapy that is done with PTSD soldiers. Oh, sorry, I got hair in my mouth. They found that the breathing actually, that the reports from the soldiers with the breathing really helped them more. And one thing it helped a lot with was being able to release the emotions, release the grief, the feelings from the trauma a lot easier and faster than it was with talking about it. So I found that really fascinating. And the other thing it's used for is to really help with performance. For Navy SEALs, that different breathing techniques really help to energize them and help their head, the high cognition, be able to really focus. And so this is something you could do during the day for being more focused and aware. And you can also do it at night before bed and help you rest and help you sleep better. Okay, so those are some things I want to talk about that. So the last thing I was going to talk about is that the breathing techniques, this how to breathe, was also taught to a lot of chronically ill and acutely ill patients in a hospital. And they found that there was a much lower mortality rate in those that were learning the breathing. So it's not only for healthy people to extend their life, it's also for people that are suffering from real chronic illness, from chronic pain conditions. This is going to really help with the pain. It's also going to help extend their life as well. And, I don't know if there are any studies on this, but I have a feeling that some of these things, like with long COVID and some of the leftover COVID symptoms, would also really respond well to these breathing techniques. And I'm waiting to kind of see if there are any studies that come out about that. Okay, so if you yourself have any physical, emotional challenges that you want to discuss on an individual basis, I would really love to, work with you and talk to you. And you can contact me through my Facebook page. And I really wish you all the blessings today and a long life. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. All right. Thank you. And I'm excited to share this with you.